happy holidays to everyone out there who watches the videos. I hope that this holiday season has been one of the best ever, and it's went to suit you. You're able to spend time with friends, family. Hope you've had some time off work. If you've been fortunate enough to be able to do so, hope you've, if you're younger, hope you've had some quality time off school and been able to relax there. This bowl season so far has featured a few upsets and a few things that we didn't think were going to happen there. Let's just go run through it real quick. My picks against the spread haven't gone as well as I would like by any means. Troy, North Texas, I did cover. Boise State, I correctly picked to cover in the Las Vegas Bowl against Oregon. A couple over here I messed up on: Western Kentucky, Georgia State there, and Marshall, Colorado State. Also, Middle Tennessee, Arkansas State. The underdog Blue Raiders got the win there. Here's one that I messed up on. Should have known better here. I picked Akron to cover the spread against Florida Atlantic in the Boca Raton Bowl. I thought they would lose by like 21. Turned out it was more like 101. Lane Kiffin's team just totally dismantled them. This was a surprising one to me. SMU lost like 51-10 in the Frisco Bowl, which is like right at their back door, to a 6-6 Louisiana Tech team. Sonny Dykes is the new coach at SMU. He just taken over. He actually used to be the coach at Louisiana Tech up until like a couple years ago, I think. And Louisiana Tech just dismantled them, so not a good start there for his tenure. Temple, FIU, the Gasparilla Bowl. I picked the in-state Panthers to cover the spread there, and they did no such thing. Couldn't get anything going. That was a very boring game to watch if you were unfortunate enough to get to see it. But Temple kind of pulled away at the end. I think they won like 28-3. UAB totally blown out in the Bahamas Bowl against Ohio. I figured that Ohio would cover there. Central Michigan, Wyoming. Did not get that one correct. Idaho Potato Bowl, Wyoming with a victory. Incorrect also here. I don't know why I put a check mark by that one. Maybe it's because I was doing it here. Texas Tech lost the Birmingham Bowl to South Florida. They are the champions of that fine Alabama city for the second year in a row. Here's one I did get correct. Army did beat San Diego State. However, it was 42-35. That little pesky half point there messed us up in the Armed Forces Bowl, but still a great win for Army. Always good to see them have a successful season and win a bowl game. App State, Toledo, I think everybody in the world got that one wrong. 34-0. App State just absolutely blew them out and put a real stamp on their program. That was a really, really good win, program-building win for App State. And Fresno State, Houston, Hawaii Bowl has been one of the better games of the year. 2.5 points was the spread. Picked Fresno State to actually cover that, and they did. So I would say so far this year, wouldn't you say this one and probably the Armed Forces Bowl have been good games. The Birmingham Bowl, I think, was a good game. I've been working during a lot of these, so I wasn't able to watch a lot of them. Utah and West Virginia played yesterday in the Heart of Dallas Bowl. I picked the Utes to cover the spread, and they did. Duke, NIU, was wrong on that one. I thought Duke could have a kind of a I don't want to be here feeling and slip up against the Huskies, but they didn't. I pulled away in the third quarter. Relatively easily victory there in Detroit City. And this one we did get correct. Kansas State covered against UCLA last night. So, we're getting into a point now where we're getting into some better matchups with some more bigger name teams. And hopefully my bowl record and my picks and predictions here will turn around for the better really quick because can't get much worse. Let's get right into this. We have predicted all the way up through this one, the Texas. That was in the part 2 preview. So we're going to start off here. The game, Virginia against Navy in the Military Bowl. This is a home game for Navy. It's actually in Navy Marine Corps Stadium. I believe that this game had been played in Washington. The FedEx Field before. I don't know why it's being played at Navy this year. but that's what's going on. Navy is actually a 1-point favorite there against Virginia. Looking back over the season, Virginia 6-6. They beat Boise on the road earlier in the season, but they haven't really beaten many other quality teams aside that. Their run defense is not great, which is not what you want to have when you got Zach Abey and the midshipmen as the next team that you're fixing to face. Some of their stats, I think, were kind of inflated when they losses to Louisville and actually a win over Georgia Tech. Both those are big-time running teams, so they probably racked up a lot of yards there. The pass defense for Virginia Cavaliers is pretty good, but bad thing about it is they're not really going to need it. The midshipmen don't put the ball in the air that often. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They did lose their last game to Army. I saw that. It was a great matchup. The end of that one, you should go back and watch it. I'm going to take Navy here to cover the spread. It's a home game for them. They should win there. Although Virginia, much improved team, much more improved teams in the country this year. Hats off to Bronco Mendenhall. Is doing a good job there, and I think they'll continue to get better. Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State in the Camping World Bowl in Orlando. I'm just going to go on ahead and tell you here. I'm going to take Oklahoma State in this one to cover the spread. A lot of times you see these kind of matchups, and they look a little bit scary because you think of Oklahoma State and you think of the fact that they have the number one passing offense in the country, the overall second best offense in the country. But Virginia Tech, they have the 11th best overall defense in the country. So, when these kind of teams hook up, more often than not, they will favor the defensive side of the ball, the defensive team. Virginia Tech, I don't think Virginia Tech's very good. I don't think that they don't impress me. They haven't really shown up in the big-time games this year. I think, the whole world was picking them to win against Miami. What was it, back in October when they hooked up in Miami, the road game, and they just got absolutely blown out of the water, like 28-10. They didn't do well there. They played Clemson at home earlier in the season. Clemson just absolutely destroyed them. I think the final in that game was like 31-17, but it wasn't even that close. It was more like 31-3, to be honest with you. Just a couple of garbage touchdowns there by Virginia Tech. Really don't show up that well against the big competition. Caleb Phillips is a talent, and I think that Justin Fuente is a good coach. But this year's team, they don't have it. Not that impressive. They're still kind of on the way back. I think Oklahoma State's going to cover the spread here and win that game fairly easily. Stanford, TCU, Alamo Bowl. The Horned Frogs are 3-point favorites. TCU's 9-3. 2 of their 3 losses were to Oklahoma. Stanford 9-4. 2 of their losses were to USC. So there's not much else there other than outside of those few teams they've lost to. They both had solid seasons. The TCU defense overall, 19th in the country. Pretty good by the Big 12 standards. It really is. Are also 4th overall in rushing defense. I think that'll serve them well to neutralize Stanford and Bryce Love. Dude's been hurt for most of the second half of the season. Ankle sprains and such. He didn't even play in the game against Oregon State, which they just barely were able to eke out a win in. I'm going to take TCU to cover the spread here, and a lot of that will depend on how healthy Love is. Has it this month off been able to he been able to heal up? If he has, he runs wild. It could be a different story there, but I don't see him running wild, even if he is healthy. Against TCU, I think they're a little bit too stout, and more stout than what Stanford's used to facing. I think TCU wins this game and covers the spread. Washington State, Wazoo versus Michigan State, Holiday Bowl. Interesting matchup there. 1.5-point favorites. Michigan is against the Cougars. 9th in overall defense this year. Michigan State is. I think they're going to win this game. Less than 10 points, but I think that they're just better than Washington State. Has had a kind of an up and down year, but a good year. Don't get me wrong, but they were looking to make that next step there and weren't able to do it. They kind of had the upset win earlier in the season at home against USC, and everybody stuck them up there in the top 10. And all of a sudden, boom! Next week they play California and get absolutely blown out of the water. They got blown out of the water in their last game against Washington. I don't see them being able to keep up with Michigan State, and I don't see them being able to score on them like they have on some of these other teams. Michigan State is going to win that game. Wake Forest, Texas A&M, Belt Bowl. This is a very interesting game. Almost a home game for Wake Forest. Charlotte's just about an hour and a half from Winston-Salem. Overall, Wake Forest is 107th though in total defense. They finished up the year at 7-5. It's a new beginning at Texas A&M. Also, Jimbo Fisher's taking over after this game. From what I've read, he will be in attendance, but won't have anything to do with the game prep or the game plan itself. Wake did look good during a 4-game stretch this year against Louisville. Relatively close loss on the road at Notre Dame. They blew Syracuse out of the water on the road and won at home against NC State. They in the ACC finished I think either third or fourth there in the Atlantic side of the division. There were a bunch of teams kind of clustered there in the middle. I'm going to take Wake to cover the spread in this game. I think there's just more continuity there. Texas A&M have had a kind of an up and down season. The highlight of Texas A&M's season was probably a close loss to Alabama. They were for the longest time they kept it closer against anybody with the Crimson Tide. So, and I'm going to look for Wake Forest to take the cake in that one. New beginning at Texas A&M, I don't know. I've often thought Jimbo Fisher was overrated as a coach, but I guess we'll see. Arizona State, NC State. NC State has Ryan Finley. Kind of came out of nowhere, really, this year. This guy could be one of the top overall draft picks. Things go his way. 3,200 yards through the air this year. 5th bowl game out of 6 years for Arizona State. Wasn't enough, though. Their coach, Todd Graham, got let go after the last game of the regular season, but they're going to keep him around to coach the bowl game, or he's going to stay around to coach the bowl game for them. They hired Herm Edwards as the head coach there. I don't really understand that, but he's friends with the athletic director. So we'll see. I'm going to take NC State to cover the spread in this one. Arizona State is terrible on defense. They're like 110th overall. So I don't see them being able to hold up there against NC State. It's going to win that game. Kentucky, Northwestern, Music City Bowl, 7.5-point favorites. Northwestern is. Let's just go on ahead and be real here. Northwestern is going to smack Kentucky right off the map. Kentucky's lost 4 of their last 6 games. I've not thought they were very good all year long. How my Gamecocks were able to get beaten at them soundly at home in the 3rd game of the season is still a mystery. They were blown out by UGA, second to last game of the season. In the last game of the season, a mediocre Louisville team just took care of business against them, like 44-17 or something like that. Kentucky's not going to be able to run the ball. Northwestern, they have a 1,300-yard rusher, Benny Snell Jr. Northwestern's got the 10th overall run defense in the country. They're tough up front. Kentucky's not going to be able to do much with them. I'm looking for Northwestern to win this game easily. And New Mexico State, Utah State, Arizona Bowl. I really don't know. Can't give you a real good prediction on this one. Utah State's 4-point favorites, and I'm going to pick them to cover simply because they've been in a bowl 4 out of the last 6 years. However, this is New Mexico State's first bowl since 1960. Yeah, so the athletic director actually cried when he accepted the invitation to the bowl. That just kind of puts it all in perspective. Some teams take these things for granted. They definitely don't. I'll be back with the next installment taking us up to the playoffs in part number 5. No, 4. See y'all later. Peace.